Hi, everyone. Thanks for staying on for so long. I know we're the last team. My name is Cameron. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Hollow, and we have my teammates here, Ajit, Bernard, and Lewis. I'm going to tell you about our health tech that really focuses on building clinical tools in mental health care. And so what I want to do is start with a problem. And we see this patient here, Samson. He's suffering from lung cancer. He's been going to the hospital for several months receiving treatment, but COVID has hit, and now he has to receive treatment at home. And much like many other patients, he actually has no psychological support at home. And there's many other patients just like him, even my own mom. And the problem is that they lack a lot of healthcare data. They actually cost a lot of insurers twice as much in their insurance claims. And they also receive a lot of extra hospital care that is really unnecessary and overused resources. And so this is actually a bigger economical issue that we see in the market, where there's over 45 million patients every year in Asia, but actually a majority of these patients develop a mental health condition. And that's why we really find that there needs to be a supportive tool that supports the mental health care infrastructure, especially in Asia and Hong Kong. And that's why our team is building our clinical grade digital therapeutics, which is a digital medicine that's driven by the healthcare AI that we are building to measure and treat the mental health of chronic patients. And so what this looks like is not a downloadable app on the Play Store. It's actually a prescription from the doctor directly to the patient. And what it does is we allow the patients to download and use the applications and target their treatment and measure their mental health. Along the same guidelines as a clinical tool, we're trying to be FDA regulated, HIPAA approved, and uh, have all our ISO certifications that we need. So generally, the product is broken down into three main parts: the detection and screening section, the tracking and reporting section, and then we push all of this data to drive our digital treatment. But how Hollow differentiates from other tools in the market or other games in the market that help target mental health is that our AI is heavily differentiated in terms of how it's measured, how it's engaging the patients, and how we're actually extracting that data. As well as this, we're targeting the chronic and mental health comorbid condition, whilst many other applications just focus on mental health or just focus on different diseases. And so I'm going to jump right into the product because we're very excited to show it to you. The first part is our detection and screening section. And so this is where we evaluate the patient's parameters, such as the standard clinical indexes. These are tools that psychologists typically use, but we also collect other types of data. For example, we have a video journal that you can see on screen, where the video is actually being recorded of the person's face. And what we're able to do is extract voice sounds, so vocal semantics, semantics of the words that are being used, as well as the visual aspects of the face. So the rotation of the face, different points on the face, and the eye movement as well. And we can actually use that to detect mental health and detect what level of mental health they're experiencing. We can use other forms of biomarkers to actually detect other forms of mental illness and other signals as well. So an example that I just mentioned was this deep learning model, and what the outcome measure is actually measuring the PHQ-8 level, which is an index level of a patient's mental health. Right now, we're developing this model much more accurately than other researchers in the market. We're able to almost get 80% accuracy on our application. Then we're able to track these patients over a longer period of time, looking at longitudinal data that really focuses on their difference of looking at the key differences in their data and detecting red flags earlier. And that way we're able to provide instantaneous intervention when it's needed. And so we can really look at sleep and wake patterns, different oncology data markers that they need to see, as well as look at something called digital phenotyping, which is a digital footprint in the background data of the patient. And we can put all this together to really understand and drive a really personalized intervention rather than a one size fits all for the patients. And so this looks like a gamified intervention where we're able to provide the treatment along the lines of other research-based models such as CBT, MEST, which focuses on memory, or even mindfulness practices. And a lot of the data we use can drive the frequency, drive the personalization, and target specific symptoms of the patient. And so I mentioned that we already distribute through the healthcare partners, but what we actually do is go alongside of the pharma pathway for the drugs that are being delivered to these patients. What we also do is provide in-person check-ins with the therapists to review the data and approve what we've been showing them and providing them as interventions. But this actually provides a level of compliance. And so we're actually able to work with the insurer providers, have a reimbursable model for the patients, and so that even though they're paying out of pocket for a treatment or an intervention, it's actually a reimbursable model. And that's why insurance and pharma are our payers in the market. And so there's many benefits for different parties focused, for example, for Samson, he's really recovering faster, his mental health is addressed and his chronic condition is improving. Dr. Chu, his doctor, has better patient outcomes, he's seeing her less and is able to go to the hospital and receive less medication. For the insurer providers, they're spending less money on Samson, and for pharma and the hospital providers as well, they're also getting a lot of data on Samson and the doctor and the treatment that's being used. And so we actually have two different business models. We saw a lot of traction with our first, the detection and screening model, where we screen individuals multiple times a year and don't provide any treatment there. This is quite popular with some of our telehealth customers. For the pay-per-prescription model, this is really where our full end-to-end solution comes in handy, where we provide our treatment and then be able to measure and track the patient end-to-end throughout the year. So we have some early traction where we have SolidStreet and MyDoc as our two early stage customers. We're providing them screening services that I just mentioned. But even though this isn't the full end-to-end, we're able to collect a lot of clinical data as well as provide a lot of early stage revenue. As a deep tech company, this is really crucial. But what we're doing right now is a healthcare pilot funded by the ITC and Science Park as well. And we're able to then push the pilot into the healthcare sector. And we're actually just yesterday, I know your slides may not have this, but just yesterday, we're able to secure a partnership with Jockey Club Cancer Care Institute, as well as Virtus Healthcare, one of the largest specialist networks in Hong Kong. And so we're able to work with them closely to interview patients, understand their needs, and build our therapeutic according to what's actually needed in their clinical case. And therefore, we're able to support the mental health of these cancer and chronic patients. And so how we compete, some data on the left, if you're interested, but focused on the right, is how we compete with other mental health companies in the space. And we're really focused on differentiating with the AI that I've mentioned, as well as really working closely with the clinical providers, as well as providing a key regulatory pathway for the product. And so what we're doing is really focusing on our product as a regulated product, but also focused on how we're localized to Asia, competing to a lot of the US-based companies, as well as that our team is really has a lot of in-house talent where we have PhDs as well as master students working on our product and working closely with the researchers like Professor Wendy Lamb from HKU or even Tom Barry. And so what we're really focused on in terms of scalability is our first year is really focused on our first screening model, as well as receiving our pilot, providing our pilot in the space. But if we're looking from a top-down perspective, really focused on taking a slice out of the Hong Kong life and insurance premium market sector. But to really hit that scale, we're trying to address different strategies to address these different risks that we see as a product. For the clinical need, we're launching our pilot as well that addresses the market need. But in terms of technological protection, our in-house team is highly protective and is able to protect against other competitors developing similar technologies. And in terms of regulatory risk, we're including our clinical studies as part of the prerequisite for our go-to-market. And so we're developing our product as well as clinically studying it so that we can ensure the highest quality. And so what this looks like over the next 5 to 6 years is we're really focused on our early SOP, standard of protocol in the beginning, developing our early stage pilots, clinically accrediting the products. Once we're through the approvals, we're able to find their scale with medical and insurance partners and be able to move beyond just Hong Kong and Asia into targeting into the APAC entire region, including the GBA, Singapore, and Malaysia, for example. And so what we're able to do, if our product is differentiated into different modules, but really this is showing that we have to go through multiple stages before we can hit a truly scalable commercial scale. And so far, the first depression model and the first treatment model are the furthest along in terms of discovery and clinical studies. So our product is really, we've been working on this for around 1.5 years now. We've bootstrapped over 2.5 million Hong Kong dollars with a couple million in the pipeline. However, we are fundraising right now in terms of an angel round to help support the cash flow and develop our products and clinical studies further. Our team is a kick-ass team between cognitive scientists, data scientists, software developers, and healthcare biotechnologists, and really understand the core needs and core scientific needs of the product and developing it in a cross-functional way. But we, as a young team, we are supported by a lot of advisors in the space, particularly from HKU's psychology and health, behavioral science, and the Li Ka-shing medicine faculty, as well as providing some insurance perspective from David and his expertise as an executive in the space. And so that's really our company in a nutshell. Really excited to hear your questions and answer them. Our team is ready to talk a lot about the business model or even how the product works in more detail.